Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rohdey and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day guys and welcome to episode 148 of All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast. We have had an enormous, is it a few days? It feels like it's been longer than that, but some serious news over the course of the last week, I suppose, and we're looking forward to covering it all today with none other than CEO Asher Dezsery of RecFish SA. Rohdey, it's great to be here.
Diz, always here, always good to be here. Obviously not great news over the last sort of 4 or 5 days. But yeah, we're going to dig through some of the negatives, Diz, hopefully find a few positives and find a bit of a way out of this this bit of a mess we've found ourselves here in wreck fishing in South Australia at the moment, Diz.
Is that beer number 54 for you to drown your sorrows in all of this nasty news we've been dealt?
Oh, mate, I'm going to actually jump straight into my oranges and lemons, Diz. I've been to Port Douglas and I was out in a reef fishing charter, and you know when you're out on one of those sort of things and you get patchy reception? Got a patchy reception, and what did I get? About 7 messages saying they've banned fishing, they've banned this, and it was like, oh, it really put a downer in my day out here, haven't they? So that was my orange, but yes, Diz, I needed a few beers that night to...
it was your orange but your lemon at the same time.
To get me through. Nah, Diz, Port Douglas was great, but it was a slight downer on things when that news came through as I was midway through hauling in a coral trout.
Yes, that coral trout did look good. I bet it tasted good too.
It did, Diz, and we also went up to Hookabarra, took Lil up to the Barramundi farm, Diz, and... Again, an orange. It was great fun, but the only lemon was I let her wind in the 2 little ones, and then she spent the next 4 days saying she caught 2 and I caught 1, and I was like, Lil, come on, I hooked him.
Oh, hilarious.
Anyway, good to get her involved, mate.
Yes, absolutely. Where do you reckon coral trout rates in the sort of tastiest fish realms? Is it up there with Nanagai, north of Whiting, south of Whiting? What is it?
Oh, it's right. It is right up there. It's so white. The flesh is so white. It is quite like the charter guy said he prefers red emperor. Like it's got a bit more flavour.
Did you catch any red emperor?
We did get a red emperor as well, and it is a very plain fish, but it's beautiful white flesh. Like it is really nice.
Nice, very good. All right, my orange has been business cards arrival.
Yeah, it is a bit of online shopping, Vista Print.
I'm very impressed. I'm not even going to take credit for this, but it was an idea that came across your mind and gained a fair bit of momentum at our great friend Lil and Charlie's wedding of recent times. I was hoping that we would have had these in time for an upcoming event, and we have, Rohdey. It's very impressive work you've done there. Vistaprint do a wonderful job. Certainly not a sponsor of the show. I think that would be an interesting sponsor of a fishing podcast, but we've made use of their services. If you want business cards or other personalised items, jump on there. But the business cards are great, and we'll be handing them out the next time you see us.
We certainly will, Diz, and got a little QR code on there so you can get straight into the episodes.
Yes, good call. Well, my lemon, then I'll roll that straight in because I think you've done yours with the wreck fishing limits being cut.
Oh, well, that's the obvious lemon. I didn't even really need to mention that.
Well, you said it while you were out. You said
that's right. I did too.
Fishing, but my lemon was not making it to the boat show.
Yeah, yep.
We've done a few years in a row.
Yeah, you were busy, were you, mate? What was your excuse?
I was working, actually.
Work. Don't you hate it?
Work got in the way of a good time there, but Dan did a lovely wrap-up, and I did think while I was at work, because we were copping that nasty thunderstorm. Were you back for that thunderstorm?
Yeah, we flew in just before it, yeah.
But I thought, geez, yeah, bit of a hectic day to have the boat show. Fortunately, most of it's indoors. But
wasn't good timing, though, either, because I can't imagine too many people were spending their hard-earned cash on a new boat, given the announcements 2 days before.
That's true. All right, Rohdey, tell us what's been happening on the social media. You've been hard at work doing some work with RecFish.
Yes, Diz, we did a bit of filming and releasing some of these tagged fish down at Maiponga. So that was good, Diz, to do a bit of filming. with Asher and Levi and Tommy Tsenko. Ecological Media did the filming, Diz. He did a really good job.
Yeah, he's a great
Former
guy.
guest of the show.
It's a great guy, Tom. It's good.
Down at sports fishing scene.
We'll get him back on the podcast at some stage, won't we?
So, yes, Diz, we did. We were lucky enough to catch some callop, yellow belly, golden perch, whatever you want to call them. I had to ask about 3 times what we're calling them in these videos because everyone calls them something different. But, yeah, Diz, good to do some filming, get some good footage together.
Good stuff, Rohdey. Love it. All right, mate, that's a nice little wrap up and start to the episode. Let's get into the juicy part and in the news.
Rohdey and Diz have been searching far and wide to bring you the latest news across all fishing in the state and will give you the rundown on what you need to know.
Righto, Rohdey, let's take it straight off the top. We are not going to cover an enormous amount of what would seem to be the obvious story to cover first because, as we said at the top of the episode, we're very lucky to be joined by CEO of RecFish, Asher, and we're going to have a great chat, in-depth chat with him and all of the latest news, even as recently as today with their meeting with the Premier of our wonderful state in South Australia. So, Rohdey, what else have we got in the news?
Diz, there was another announcement, $102.5 million government algal bloom program to ensure that South Australians can enjoy their summer. So that was sort of the previous big announcement on the algae bloom before the wreck fishing cuts. It includes $37 million in new funding for science and the environment. It follows on from some of those tourism and hospitality vouchers. The final stage of the plan includes $20 million in funding for the environment, including a large-scale native oyster reef restoration. So that all seems fairly positive. Some seagrass restoration. I think the experts seem to think that's part of the answer, Diz, so hopefully that helps a bit. There's also been funding to staff, surf lifesaving and have them do sort of 7 days a week at selected beaches. I think it was 6 metropolitan and 2 regional beaches. There's been a Beach Safe app which will provide updates on 23 locations, including whether a beach is clear of abnormal foam, whether it's discoloured, and some details on when the beach was cleaned up, Diz. So that'll keep some people happy, but the proof will be in the pudding how that all pans out, Diz.
Yeah, good call. And we've had quite a number of messages from people all over the place after what feels like a big week or so of announcements. Rohdey, talk us through a few of them. One most notably was Alicia, wasn't it, from Tackle World Port Lincoln, travelling down to South Australia for what was hoping to be a positive announcement, turned out to not be.
Yeah, we'll touch on the details, obviously, of that, but it sounded like it came as a big shock to some of those that had been involved in working behind the scenes on some of these policies. And look, there were some really good announcements in that announcement down the bottom end with some of the funding for fish stocking and habitat and all that sort of stuff, but it's just the top 80% of the document was all negative.
And they're the sort of people you think to immediately when some of this bad news hits, and it's obviously an environmental disaster, and all of us are really sad to see the effects that this algal bloom is having. But people that's livelihood really does depend on whether it's wreck fishing or being outdoors or the the fishing community and those sorts of things. You really do feel for those people, don't you, Rohdey?
You certainly do, Diz, and it's all been pretty full on. And I don't know, have you seen the Facebook group saying we all need to drag our boats down North Terrace?
Yeah, look, I certainly have. I mean, navigating North Terrace at the best of times isn't a lot of fun, so I can't imagine that, with a whole stack of people there with their boats dragging along, it'd be a bit hectic.
I might let you drive and I'll just sit in the passenger seat and observe, I reckon, Diz. That might be your job.
Crack a beer, you reckon?
Can't see why not. Might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, good call. All right, Rohdey, what else we got?
Dizzy, the Streaky Bay Jetty has been reopened. So there's been quite a bit of money spent on fixing that up, Diz. I think it was, I reckon it was nearly $10 million, and it's just been opened recently. There's been some damage, and good to see that's open. It's been going for, I think, a year, Dizzy, to improve the structural integrity and make sure it's strong for many years to come. $9.7 million it was, Diz, and it's just been opened. And that's a beautiful part of the world, Dizzy, Streaky Bay.
Yes, it is, Rohdey. We had a wonderful time there.
It's nearly 130 years old, so an old jetty, isn't it? So safety and structural upgrades, $9.7 million, and it opened about a week ago.
Yeah, it's a lovely part of the world. Certainly encourage anyone who hasn't been over on the West Coast or the far West Coast to enjoy themselves a trip over there. It's a lovely part of the world. Couldn't think of anything better over a bit of a summer escape.
And Dizzy, another positive one, the Port Moorowie boat ramp is being repaired. So I think that was damaged in the storms recently.
Yeah.
And this is a positive one, Diz. So that was damaged in the storms early in the year. And it says here, in a true show of community spirits, the successful contractor is providing their time and equipment at no cost to the council or the community to ensure the ramp road is returned to a safe standard for locals, tourists and professional fishers. The majority of work should be completed by the end of next week. So what a legend that bloke is, doing his best to get that boat ramp up and running ASAP at no cost.
We love hearing that. That is a brilliant news story.
Real community spirit. Good on whoever that was.
Yes, community spirit. That's great. Rohdey, let's make it very clear to all the listeners we are covering all of the latest news with Asher as we chat to him in just a moment. But before we do, I think we want to quickly touch on our tackle item of the week.
Now it's time for Rohdey and Diz to really show you what it means to have all the gear with a lot of idea as they review a tackle item of the week.
Righto, Rohdey, we, of course, have a wonderful piece of kit from Shimano. This is something that you... Look, I'm not going to say you commonly see it, but I think when you do see it, you immediately think, geez, those people know how to take care of their gear. And when you open it up, it's very likely that you'll see a glistening, lovely piece of Shimano gear underneath. What do we got, Rohdey? This is, of course, a reel cover.
So it's a neoprene reel cover, Diz, and I don't know... I'm sure everyone can imagine, this trip to Port Douglas, I was going to take one rod, next minute it was two, next minute it was three. And it's a dilemma taking fishing gear. Like, how do you pack it best? I've tried to take it in carry-on before, the reels, and got told that the line is a strangulation hazard. So you're not actually allowed to, if you're going to take the reels in your carry-on, certainly this is my experience, you have to take the spool off. So I think... maybe Port Douglas last time or at some points, I've had to check in an extra bag because I'd already checked in my big suitcase and I had a backpack full of fishing reels. And they said, either you got to cut all that line off. And I was like, mate, that's $100 worth of line on each of them. I'm not cutting that off. So they just said, all right, you need to put it underneath. And that was fine. That was okay. But now I've learned from experience.
How does the security guard feel about your humble little packet of dental floss?
I don't know, you're asking the wrong man.
It's a bit rogue.
Do you take dental floss on a plane?
No, I don't. But I'm just thinking, like, what other sort of strangulation hazards would they come across in their travels?
I don't know. Shoelaces? Is that any worse?
I don't know. I find it quite strange to me to be... Just wait a sec. Let me just quickly unspool a bit of line about to strangle you.
Anyway, so then that stressed me out greatly, putting our, nice fishing reels in the bottom of a plane that's getting thrown around by baggage handlers. Yeah. So I got these neoprene reel covers, Diz. I've got a small, a medium and a large. So I took the 10,000 twin power. I didn't actually tell you that I took that one. But that went in the large one perfectly. Then I took the 6,000 that I was sort of fishing with off the rocks. And I also took the bait caster, which probably didn't get as much use as I had planned, but they all packed away beautifully in these neoprene reel covers. They're nice, thick padding. They're lightweight, which is, when you bring in all this fishing tackle and sinkers, you got to start worrying about your weight a little bit there, Diz. So that's a positive. And they've got lots of sort of Velcro sort of attachments that you can, really pack them tight so you're confident that your reel is going to get there in great condition. And then we took the big rod tube as well. And my hack for that is where do you put your socks and undies when you're traveling?
Well, apparently in a reel tube.
In a reel tube, a rod tube, sorry, because then the rods don't move around. So you stuff all your socks and undies, pack it in nice and tight around your rods, and then there's no wriggling around and they stay beautiful and safety. So there's packing 101 as our tackle item of the week, Diz.
Well, I didn't really think the tackle item of the week was going to delve into international fishing trips with Matt Road, but here we are. That's a great little wrap-up, Rohdey. Now the listeners are absolutely chomping at the bit for us to have a great chat with CEO of RecFish SA, Asher. Let's get him on the dial.
Now it's time to get our guest on the line. We'll ask them the all-important 5 questions, then chat all things fishing in SA.
All right, Dizzy, we are joined here right now by one of the busiest men in Adelaide right at the moment, Asher Dezsery, CEO of RecFish. Asher, thanks for finding the time amongst your busy schedule to have a chat with us.
No worries at all, anytime.
Mate, no doubt, as Rohdey said, it's been an incredibly busy time. Socials and everything have been going wild over some of these announcements. I'm keen to get your views on what's transpired over the course of the last, say, few days and just give us your perspective on where things are at the moment.
Yeah, so currently there's a lot of uncertainty. As everyone's heard, there's been a 50% reduction of your top 4 species, which is, garfish, squid, whiting, blue crabs. There's been a 50% reduction in the Spencer Gulf, as well as the full reduction of all species in Gulf St. Vincent. And that's created a lot of angst in the community. So everyone was really struggling as it was in terms of business, tackle stores, bait, wholesalers, all that. And this is kind of the cherry on top that's really broken their back. And I've worked really hard on, stimulating fishing, and obviously we put on that $10,000 fish comp, and that's still going till June. And, we're doing all we can, and then it kind of puts us back quite a long way. And we want to focus on pushing fishing forwards while obviously helping the environment recover, which is why we're focusing on freshwater, etc. And this sort of sends us so far back, it's not funny. So, yeah, some really mixed emotions going on at the moment in the community.
Yeah, and I think so much of the community, disrest is to do with the commercial sector still getting their full quota in Spencer Gulf. Is that what you've been hearing as well, Asher?
Yeah. And recreational fishers or anyone in the water really, really cares about the environment, commercial guys included. Everybody cares about the environment and getting these fish stocks recovered. The difference is, and in the Premier's own words, he said there's a lot of areas in the state that are being impacted that weren't even affected by the algae. And this is a prime example of that. So Gulf St. Vincent, hugely impacted. You've seen it. Complete car park almost in some areas because the fish just got wiped out. But Spencer Gulf, really, really healthy. In fact, the theory is that some of the fish migrate around there. The biomass has increased. That's why everyone's got such big catches at the moment. Fish are really easy to find. So there's been this, influx there. Where the issue raises is the recreational sector has sort of been had the finger pointed at them a little bit and made to feel like they're being greedy when we're not. We're saying, hey, completely and utterly want the environment to recover as quickly as possible. Everyone needs to dig deep right now. It hurts, it stings, but we've got to do our part. But unfortunately, the rec sector got trimmed down really harshly, even though the biomass can handle it perfectly fine. But the commercial sector can still function at, up to 120%, not just 100%. And that's what really raises the red flags with us from a fisheries management perspective, because we're going, well, not only are they getting a bigger bite at it, they're also going even further by taking more. And the reason behind that is because in fisheries management in SA, you can have a 10% carryover from the year prior if you don't catch your quota, which they didn't, and they don't ever. And you can also have a 10% over catch, so you can catch next year's fish this year. And that combined puts them up to 120% up to. So we're going, there's no other word about it. This is dumb. It's irresponsible, and it's also inequitable. So that's why there's such an uproar.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't sit well with us and with a lot of others. And I suppose the other thing that we've sort of picked up on that you guys have been talking about is some of the data saying basically there's more recreational pressure in that Gulf, the Spencer Gulf at the moment, more people fishing that. But the data that they're going off is basically how many fisheries officers are interacting with people, and obviously that's going to go up because the fisheries officers aren't going to sit here in St Vincent's Gulf watching no one fish. So obviously they're going to go to Spencer Gulf, and then they're always going to interact with more people, and that's gone up from 16 interactions in August 2023 up to I think 527 in August 2025. But it just doesn't seem like a fair way of, representing the data, and whether that could be redone on how many interactions per hour of fisheries officers' time or something like that. That'd be great.
Yeah, and for an organisation and department that's making calls like that, you'd think they would have done a little bit more sort of standardisation, that. That's where, as you say, the whole community's been offended because they've done their part. They care about the environment. They're going, hey, yeah, we'll take a hit for sure. And then really gotten a kick to the guts by being like, and also you guys are the problem, and we're also going to blame you for increased effort and a risk to the stock. Yeah, from my understanding, more fisheries officers got put on in those areas as well as the Yorke Peninsula fisheries officers spending more time where the fishers are. So, of course, there's more interactions because they're putting more fisheries officers in the busiest areas because, as per council records, you've got a lower level of Eastern York's launches, Ardross and all that, and you've got a higher launch now of 30% in the others. So you've got a concentration of anglers, but it's wrong to say that there's been a 3,200% increase in fishing activity in the Spencer Gulf, maybe on the Yorke Peninsula in 3 rams.
Yeah.
But to paint the area from Western Yorke Peninsula all the way to Farm Beach, Coffin Bay, and out to the continental shelf as a 3,200% increase in 2 years, they're dreaming. And there's no other way of saying it. That's gross.
Yeah, it's certainly unfair for the Port Lincoln tackle shops and some of those that are getting lumped in. They've probably had no more traffic. They're probably getting less traffic because everyone's getting put off fishing full stop with all the negative publicity.
Well, straight away they said they were panicking. They were ringing me, and it's the first time I've had tackle stores in Adelaide. It's the first time, and I've worked in this industry closely. It's the first time I've had a tackle store owner sort of break down in tears with me, and it was pretty awful. And by the end of it, he was laughing. He was fine. We're all good. He can see the light, but it was just the emotional toll. And some of the ones over on the Eyre Peninsula were saying, look. It's the first time we've actually got spots at the caravan park for Christmas, New Year's. People just aren't coming, and they're cancelling their trips because they're going, man, I'm not going to go that way to catch 5 whiting. And it's not about how many you take home and all that. It's not about that, but it's just it put a dark smear over everything, and it just made everyone feel a little bit painted in the wrong way, and it took the magic out of fishing. And I was just recently talking to some others, and when you think about fishing those real remote areas, you're crystal clear blue water, and you're floating there with your family, and you got your boat out, and the world feels like your oyster. It's just such a cool place. And then to have it have the algae impact and drag over there, even though it has nothing to do with the area, it just sucks. It's just kind of painted the whole thing with a bit of an ick. So we're really keen to get back on track and focus on what we can do positively. And today that's what we focused on with the Premier. We're not just going to sit there and whinge. We're going to focus on what we can do to navigate this. Obviously, as a government policy, they're not going to turn around and do a 180 on it, but we can certainly go, right, this isn't ideal. We understand you care about rec fishing, and you've made your call because that's how you've been advised, but you should have done it with us. And it's unfortunate you didn't, but let's move forwards. Let's try and pick this apart, and let's find the silver linings in what we can change and what we can make work and foster. And let's really delve into that and make that better and more conducive to recreational fishing continuing. It's a tough one. And as you said, we've been very, very busy during the week trying to make that happen for everyone.
Yeah, and you've just answered my next question about the engagement you've had with government. So thank you for covering that off. But it also, one point I wanted to make is it seems a bit counterproductive to some of the effort that the government's been done in trying to get people out to the regions and try and encourage people to go and visit places that they haven't before and the likes, where now they're just probably, like you say, it's been painted with a bit of a brush that probably disincentivises people to go when they may have otherwise. And I mean, some of the comments that people have been sending us over our social media is, I think it's time to settle the boat and all those sorts of things. Yeah. It just really brings back a lot of that negativity when I kind of felt like we were building a bit of momentum the other way.
Yeah. And even in the middle of the worst environmental disaster for wreck fishing, people were actually feeling kind of good. It's sort of just, it really just twisted the knife a bit. And that's why our job's been so tough, because you've now introduced a bit more hopelessness to the situation. But I spent a lot of time, I think Friday I had 78 phone calls before 4 o'clock. We are doing all we can. We are moving so fast. I was up all night putting together this policy document for government to consider today and find ways of actually being able to move forwards with this. But yeah, there's no way of beating around the bush. I said during the week, like, when we got that 12 hours, 14 hours of notice, I said, this is silly. Don't do it. Like, this is not a good outcome. And we do not support it right from the get-go.
Yeah. So tell us, you said about 12 hours, 14 hours notice. That's all the knowledge you had that this was coming.
Yeah. So obviously we've been working on like the recreational fishing sector in general on policies, and that's the positive stuff. Like the other things that were mentioned, like free boat launching, $1 million for marine infrastructure type stuff. There's fish stocking there, several $1 million. That was all the things we're working on. So in our eyes, we're going, okay, this is good. We're in a sticky spot in terms of the algae, but we're going to work our way out of this. And we're not just throwing money at it. We've got commitment from government. We've got a real appetite from Mr. Malinauskas, and we've got real drive from the sector to just get it done. Real cooperation. Everyone's come together. Everyone's working on it. Great. We're in a good spot. We can do this. There's hope. Then that phone call came, ironically, while we were doing our board meeting. And that's when the wheels kind of fell off a bit, because we went, oh dear, now we're dealing with a pretty disastrous consequence, and it's not actually because of the algae; it's because of some quite strange statistics. And there's so many fisheries levers to pull before doing that, and it just needed so much more polishing. That if they gave me 12 hours. I could have made the difference between a really bad announcement and a really good one that the whole community could have stood behind. But we just didn't get that time and that adequate consultation. And that's where we got really a little bit narky, and we said, that's not on. And this is what happens when you don't listen to your sectors. If you try and put the walls up and go insular, it's not going to go well. So here we are.
Yes, so now, Ash, you've had a few days to sort of hear feedback from all sorts of members of the fishing community and think about it and discuss it with the other sort of representatives at RecFish. And then today you met with the Premier. Obviously, that wasn't going to be a backflip saying, oh, here you go, you can go fishing again. But can you tell us sort of what you can tell us about what was discussed and some of the, positives we can hopefully work towards out of a bad situation?
Yeah, for sure. There's no secrecy here. We've been very open with this. This is what we identified with. Like I said, there's 80 odd phone calls, 78, whatever it was, 80 odd phone calls, frantically ringing around, going, "What do you guys need?" And I'll try and make it happen. So we developed this around people's needs, tackle stores, council network. I worked with all of that, the whole lot. Fishing clubs. So what we brought up today was, there's been all this stuff about mandatory reporting and not knowing what the data is from RecFishers. We said, you've got now, with the announcement, 50 fisheries officers. They're all inspecting people every day. They're looking in their eskies. They know what's coming out of the water at the ramp. So that is the literal data everybody's saying that we need to make good fisheries management decisions. So we're saying you need to mandate immediately the use of the new PIRSA fisheries app that they spent $300,000 on recently developing. And you're going to use that, and your staff are going to pick up their phones and they're going to fill in that app every time they inspect someone. And you would think common sense, like, yeah, isn't that what they do? Well, no, it's not. That annoys us because that data has been missing for, since I brought it up about 2 years ago, and they refuse to do it. So they're too busy, not their jobs, Now we're saying enough's enough. You're going to be doing that because we need that data, and we need to know what RecFishers are catching, and that's the way to do it, because you've obviously got fisheries officers that are mandated and legally allowed to inspect your gear. So there's no hiding from it. They're going to look in your esky and they're going to tell fisheries management what's being caught. The benefit of that is that generates a catch per unit effort for the recreational sector. It generates a picture of what exactly is being caught and brought out of the water. It probably is going to showcase that if 20 boats leave the boat ramp, 20 boats aren't all coming back with a full boatload of whiting.
Particularly if we're going out.
Yeah, that's right. And mate, don't get me wrong, I don't get time to go fishing that much. But when I do, I'm like, I feel like I'd give it a red hot crack. I can't remember the last time I bagged out. I'm like, who are these guys? Like, where are they bagging out? This is garbage. So anyway, that's what we want to get to the bottom of. And we've said at a 3 month mark, we need a report, and you need to tell us what exactly is going on with what you're inspecting, how many people, what they're catching, and we're going to work out a rough picture of what the average of Spencer Gulf is looking like. If the numbers are lower than what's been quoted, i.e. 3,200% over 2 years, our expectation is that you immediately take action and you bring everything back to how it was, because whatever these arrangements are, it's not working.
Yeah,
so
cool.
There's not going to be a 180-degree turn as of right now, but there's certainly going to be some serious scrutiny on those departments from here on, and we're certainly not going to let that slide. So anyway, that's one of the ones. In terms of expediting delivery of the commercial buyout, so this has been a long-standing conversation. At the same time, I'm not doing the whole rec versus pro thing. That's a waste of everyone's time. Yeah. But from that sector, they're saying, "Oh, mate, you don't understand. 70 of us have just lost all our jobs. We're jobless." And I was like, "Well, yeah, you weren't kicked out of GSV. You essentially walked away from it. But anyway, that aside, that's okay. We'll buy you out. Or should the taxpayer just keep funding you to stay at home? Like, this isn't Centrelink. This is the recreational fishing sector. So I don't know. Make a choice. If you want to stay in the fishery, stay. If you want to leave, here's a payout. Leave." But that's something we need to work through with government. We actually have done so much work on this already. And we were talking, what it was going to cost. We've got agreements from fishers. We've got, quota. People have put forward their quota, said, this is what I've got and this is what I want. It's all done. It's ready to pull the trigger. We've just got to follow through on it.
And Asher, what do you say? Like, we get a lot of people anytime anything like this happens, a lot of people come out and message us and say, we need a fishing license to buy out these commercial licenses. Do you think that's part of the answer, or do you think it's something the government could fund?
It's certainly something the government could fund, because ironically, we've already funded this many times. So every time there's an issue like this, like, we're paying taxpayers' dollars to compensate them. And then we're reducing fees on licenses. So anyone with snapper quota is currently on reduced fees. That means the cost recovery isn't being done through their fees, which means the taxpayer is paying PIRSA to cover the bill. So we're already paying for this already. There was a $126 million reform, a fair few years ago now, but we've paid for this over and over and over. Yeah. That's why we got to rip off the Band-Aid and just get it done. And that's why, everyone compares us to interstate. Everyone's done this. Yeah. Everyone has done this process. Fitzroy River, Queensland, world's best barra fishery now. Northern Territory, gill nets, $150 million just announced. Tanya Plibersek, year before last, Great Barrier Reef, $180 million for Great Barrier Reef gill net reduction. Yeah. Everyone's doing it. Yeah, because it works, and it's not conducive to work with small communities that rely on the fish for money, and really big tourism that travel there, as well as the rec sector, trying to catch fish. So you've just got to look at it for what it is. And Mr. Malinauskas has announced $500,000 there to develop the business case, the feasibility study, the model to move forwards on that. Great. If it's going to cost $500,000, whatever. It's not ideal, but that's fine. Let's just get it done. Let's finish this up. Yeah. And a rec fishing license it would be fantastic in terms of its revenue production. But I've particularly been an advocate and said to the Premier, we already technically have a fishing licence. We have a freshwater fishing licence in reservoirs. Have we done anything special with that? Not really, because we don't have the policy to back it up and the commitment for those governing bodies to actually really take that and make something special with it.
Do you think a recreational licence would have given us more like bargaining power in this whole discussion, Asher, or you don't think it would have made a difference?
Not in its current capacity, because, big picture stuff, you've got, at the end of the day, an allocation, and that's only done in South Australia, by the way. So the whole system has been built on this ownership of the resource. And unfortunately, the ownership we were given for snapper, for example, is 8%. So you've got the entire fishing community, 360,000 people, and they go, yeah, we know how big you are. I'll give you 8% of the stock. And 190 guys that commercially fish it, we'll give them 82%. And the difference is charter and everything else. But that's where we've gone wrong. And even with a fishing license, it doesn't change the legal allocation. Those allocations were put in place and protected by legislation in 2008, 2009. And they can't just be taken off of them. They have to be bought out. And it's legislated that if there is a change to the allocation, it needs to be purchased and bought out. It says if there is going to be an allocation change, the state government has to pay for it on behalf of the recreational sector. So everything protects any movement of our whole fisheries management. And when things like this come up, it's really shown all of the cracks. And that's why RecFish SA have worked so hard to work with government to not expose the cracks, go, here's our massive, massive bucket of putty. Let's get to work and patch it up. But to do that, it's going to cost money to renovate. We've got to do it.
Yeah,
we've got to do it to move forward.
Yeah, sounds like we've got to sort out the policy before we worry about the fishing license. But we've just got to smash through a few quick ones here, Asher, because we've had lots of people send in lots of questions and things they want to know. I saw today Fraser Ellis, the member for Parliament for the Yorke Peninsula, posted a bit of a sort of question about lifting the snapper ban in Spencer Gulf as a way of softening the blow. That was his suggestion. Do you think there's any reality to that? I know the snapper ban got increased to 2027. Do you think that was something that could happen, or?
Yep, for sure. I think especially the real far offshore stuff, especially for charter, they're a charter operator, but people are still utilising them as a recreational fisher. So, they're going out there and they're targeting nannygai, offshore species, Samson fish, sharks, and they're catching snappers bycatch. Those snapper are dead. We know that if they're coming out of 40, 50 metres of water, they're cooked. So that kind of thing, 100%, if they're, we're not talking about people going fishing off of Black Point. We're talking offshore grounds. There are so many snapper anecdotally being reported that it's now time to really start looking at that in a different way. And traditionally, Sadi Pers would go, we're going to utilise commercial fishers and we're going to do the stock assessment by fishing in this zone. And, we didn't catch anything. It must not be any snapper. And everyone's like, well, I know where there's snapper. So we just haven't done it right. So, utilise the charter fishing industry. They know it really well. Figure out where the snapper are. Reassess it. But November is the supposed date of this $8.8 million release of this 3-year snapper program. We have said the West Coast, give us the results. That was theme 1, so it was the first one to be done, and we still haven't seen a result. Supposedly, Minister Claire Scriven said today, November's the magic date. Fine, give it to us. I bet you it will say that the West Coast fish are not part of the Spencer Gulf stock. I'll fall off. I'm happy to be wrong, but I don't believe the far West Coast fish are from the Spencer Gulf. But if they are, fine, we'll accept it. If they're not, it needs to open in some sort of meaningful way. And it'll likely be in the same way as the Southeast with the mandatory reporting with the app. So I look forward to that, and I look forward to being told that we only have a 45% compliance rate, therefore we can't use the mandatory reporting data. Yeah. But that's a whole other conversation. So.
Ash, a question for you. There's been a lot of Facebook calls, and you would have seen it, good, bad and ugly, but some people have been pushing pretty hard for a boat protest on North Terrace. Now, a question for you, not about that specifically, but how can the rec fishing community support the great work you do with advocacy to government? Because, you know, you hear it all, right? You've been talking about how people have responded to this news. How can people support you, mate, through the great work you do at RecFish?
Yeah, at the end of the day, and especially through this algae issue, our number one priority at RecFish SA as a board has been represent the community, always put the recreational community first, never ask for money, and make sure that we're supporting every business we can. So we want you as a rec fisher to go to tackle stores, to support them, to make sure that you keep going fishing and traveling and going regional. And we also want you to be a member of RecFish, which is completely free, because our numbers are what supports you. When the Premier and the Minister sit down with us, they're not just looking at Andrew Harris or Barry Brown, who were there today, or Asher Dezsery. They're looking at 10,000 members. That's what they do when they look at us. And they're going, these guys are representing 10,000 members, but also, even if you're not a member, we're still representing you. But that number is important because it gives us power, and our voice is our power. So you need to be a member of RecFish if you fish in South Australia, because it's free and we're working so hard for you. So just, if that's all I ask, do that.
Now, Asher, we did touch on it briefly, but tell us about some of I know there was a lot of negatives, and the positives were sort of down the bottom of the whole document that was released, but tell us about some of the positive funding around stocking and reef restoration and some of those sort of things. We're going to see some more reservoirs stocked. How's that going to look?
Yeah, so, and ironically, we just said, like, we really, really have so much work on. And we said, we don't want to do any more. We just want to represent the community. But unfortunately, it was, well, no one else is going to do it. So in terms of the competition, we've got a comp going, and we're just giving that straight up to the community. There's been money announced there that also supports more events like that, as well as marine infrastructure funds, things like that. I think there's several $1 million there for marine stocking. So that's when we can get to work, reintroducing fish when this algae is all cleared. And we want to focus on those really important rec fishing species like flathead, for example, that were really heavily impacted by the algae. What else is there? Free boat ramps, cheaper trailer rego. What else? Yeah, it was quite extensive. And like I said, we worked on that for a long time. And I mean, boat ramps in particular, RecFish worked on for 3 years, over 3 ministers, over every council just about. And we actually negotiated all of that outcome with councils prior to it going to the government. And, it landed really well. Like, so it's something that South Australia should be going, oh my gosh, like we've finally got free boat ramps. It's taken so long, but we've got it. And every state started like this. They might go, oh, it's only 12 months. Every state started like this. So we certainly have the ability to move forwards in a big way. Unfortunately, or fortunately, some people that like marine, they don't want freshwater. That's what we've got, and that's what we can work really hard on currently. We'll be doing as much as we can to get as many fish in the water. I'm working hands down to get trout stocked in a big way and a meaningful way throughout all of our, our Adelaide Hills rivers and things like that. That's a really tough one because of the environmental side of things. But yeah, we will just make, if there's water on the ground, we'll try and put fish in it, and we will make every possible pathway to open areas that have never been opened before on the southeast coast. On the west coast, all of those areas that traditionally don't have freshwater fishing, we're going to do it in a big way. One that really excites me is the southeast. You've got Lake Bonnie, and I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but there's Lake Bonnie southeast. It's 30 kilometres long, and it's a huge freshwater lake, and nobody knows about it. And it did have some environmental issues in Ash Wednesday fires. All the water got polluted, and that's all come good now.
Yeah,
which is great because it's ready to go. So that's the kind of sites we'll be going. Imagine, like a 50 centimetre Aussie bass taking the lure off the top.
Yeah.
And you can take your boat in there and you can like buzz around, go camping with the kids on the lake edge overnight. And that's the kind of stuff we're trying to build, and we have the capacity. And I think it's giving me something really special.
Very good, Asher. Just a couple more positive things to finish on. The boat show, I imagine that was quiet. I assume there wasn't a lot of positivity around going out and buying a boat, but one positive to come out of that was you gave away plenty of prizes.
Yeah, we gave around just under $5,000 because you need a special license if it's over 5. But mate, we gave, like, some bloke come by yesterday. He just bought a Evolution boat from Melbourne. Yeah. A few weeks prior, but he was really keen to go start chasing barrels, and then he won our comp. It was a giveaway. It was free. Yeah. He got a 50 wide Tigra combo. And I was like, man, this is garbage. The stuff I give away, like, I'm there giving stuff away every day. But man, he was pumped, and I was pumped for him as well. So
there were some great prizes from Shimano, so that was really good to see.
Yeah, it's Saragosas, SLX stuff. So yeah, and that's just what we do. We don't retain money. Yeah. So if we've got money sitting there, we'll give it to the community because we don't we can't do anything with it. We just that's its useful purpose. So that's what's cool about RecFish, and that's why I love working in this space, is because you're constantly feeding the community projects and outcomes and infrastructure and fish stocking and just prizes, and supporting their events and comps. It's really cool, and I love doing it because it's not about the money, it's about the outcomes. I love it.
Beautiful, Asher. And last one, we've got to finish on this. Tell us about the Let's Go Fishing campaign. We did some filming with you the other week, and there's heaps of tags out. There's $10,000 prizes all across the state. Has any of the fish been caught? Has the 10 grand been taken? And can you give our listeners any tips on how they might be able to find the lucky fish?
Yeah, so letsgofishing.com.au, or we've got the Let's Go Fishing Facebook page and Instagram. Go and follow it. It's so important for the socials because we give away all the tips on there as well. But essentially, we've put in over 100 tagged fish, and we'll be doing more this week. Essentially, it's a race. If you're the first one to catch one of the comp tags, you'll win 10 grand. No one's won it yet, and it blows my mind because there was a lot of big talk going on early, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, see you tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, good luck. But no one's done it. And the funny thing is everyone's like, oh, I don't know, there's only 3 fish here. How hard is it? And then I put up a few videos of me releasing 50 callip at a time with all tags in them. There's no excuse. Come on, guys, get it done. Really keen to see it go off. So we've got 4 rounds. We're currently in round 1, and they'll reset the prize pool each time. If there's a ton of money left over at the end of it, we'll do this mega round, bonus for 5th round. It'd just be ridiculous. If someone doesn't win it, there's something wrong. But yeah, loved your work. You were great when you helped us out there, and it was really cool seeing you there and helping out with it. But go to, I would say, reservoirs are where it's at the moment. The fish are going off. Springtime, all the callip school up. We catch a lot of fish. It's really fun. Great way to get on the water. This week it's glass calm, awesome kayaking weather, and you've got a 10 grand excuse to tell the missus. So you can sneak out of the house if you come back with 10 grand. And
that'd buy you heaps of trips if you got 10 grand.
Surely.
You would get so many brownie points for coming home with 10 grand.
Exactly. But during the week, you can imagine how busy I was, and my phone all weekend was just buzzing off the hook with text messages because we've there's also SAFTA research tags out, which are just plain yellow, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I've won," and I'm like, "No,
blue
this
tags.
Is why you've got to follow the Facebook page. They have to be blue." Yeah. So blue tags. We want blue tags or yellow with the blue tip. But people are catching tags, which is cool because it means they're churning through fish, and it's just a matter of time. So callip. Small soft plastics, 2.5, 3 inches. If it's sunny, if it's real dirty water, use a black one. If it's real sunny, use a paler or silver soft plastic. 1/8 to 1/6 jig head because it's nice and relatively deep there. And callip just love a nice subtle roll over those weed beds. And yeah, I caught all of the cod we tagged. I've tagged probably a dozen now, I reckon. All of them are caught on the same gear as golden perch. So you don't need to go using cod gear specifically. Just use golden perch gear and you'll land a cod. And there's definitely tags out. But my pick, my ponga, get out there, give it a red hot crack. See how this week goes. But I'd love to see you out there.
That's a brilliant wrap. And if you can't go down and catch one with those hot tips straight out of your mouth, Asher, I don't know what can, mate. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. Thank you for everything that you've you've been doing for the RecFish community in general, mate. I can't imagine how busy you've been. And it's been great to have a bit of your time tonight to catch up on where things are at so far.
No, anytime. Love talking to you guys, and thank you so much for what you guys do in the community too.
All right, Dizzy, that was great to hear it from the horse's mouth. I'm sure Asher has been a very, very busy man with, 78 phone calls, a meeting with government and a boat show in the middle of it all that RecFish were at.
Yeah, very informative discussion. He is absolutely across the brief on just about everything. We admire what he does, and it was great to have a chat with him. Rohdey, let's get into our fishing report.
Rohdey and Diz have been out on the water to bring you the news about where they're biting. Now it's time for the fishing report.
Rohdey, there has been some sporadic reports and some strange ones that we want to cover off in today's fishing report. We heard about some of the freshwater options. Asher wrapped that up very nicely at the end when we talked a little bit about the promo that they have running, which you happily participated in, which is, of course, the Let's Go Fishing campaign, and jump onto the website to follow that along closely. But, Rohdey, Happy Valley, Murray Cod, good fishing?
Yeah, Diz, this was another post by RecFish. Good to see some positivity, and this goes back to, remember they had the cod pods in 2024 where they were hoping that these cod would breed, and they did record male and female cod going into these little cod pods and theoretically breeding, producing eggs. But there's now been an important catch made by RecFish member Duncan, who caught a small little hand-sized Murray Cod, Diz. So that's evidence that they did breed.
Wow.
So that's really cool, Diz, that did happen. And it's been proven that there's been some successful larvae survival into a cod that, I'm just looking at that hand, it's probably a 10 centimetre, 15 centimetre cod. So the cod have bred in captivity, Diz, which there was a lot of skepticism about.
Very good, mate.
So that's interesting, Diz. Another Murray Cod that we had sent to us was caught in Mawson Lakes, and I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know about you, Diz. Did you know there were Murray Cod in Mawson Lakes?
No, I had no idea.
And apparently quite a few redfin too. I would have just thought it was full of carp. And the only time we fished it was it Nova or one of those radio stations did a comp once, a tagged carp in there?
Yes.
And we went and fished at Mawson Lakes. That was years and years ago.
Oh, it was a long time ago. It was our take on the $1 million barrel.
And there were heaps of people fishing for one carp, and I don't reckon anyone hardly caught anything. No, I don't reckon they did. But I always thought it was just carp, but there was a Murray Cod caught at Mawson Lakes, so that's cool.
Wow, there you go. That's amazing.
Another cool thing, Diz, was this marlin swordfish, whatever it was, that was filmed at the Port Lincoln Jetty. This was a couple of weeks ago too, Diz.
Very impressive.
And there's been lots of theories, whether it's a juvenile marlin, whether it's a baby swordfish. And that was filmed by Mick from the Mitcham Angling Club in Victoria, who was over visiting Port Lincoln, went for a walk along the jetty and got this really cool footage of some sort of a swordfish, marlin, whatever you want to call it, a billfish of some description swimming. So there's always one of those strange things that turn up in Port Lincoln or Port Augusta, often over on that sort of Eyre Peninsula. We do see these things from time to time.
And I really loved the commentary in here. Let me read it verbatim. If a marlin that far south, then that's cool. But hey, it's 2025, and if he wants to identify as a cold water species, he can. And I just absolutely loved that. So
very good.
That was some brilliant banter there on Just Your Average Fishos page there. We love that. Rohdey, there's whiting being caught at Stansbury and Edithburgh. A great reason to get on the Yorke Peninsula. Yeah,
Diz, it's good that the St Vincent's Gulf is starting to fish a bit better on that Yorke Peninsula side. I think Metro's still been slow, but we are hearing reports of whiting on that bottom end of eastern Yorke Peninsula. So hopefully that continues, Diz. I went for a run today, actually, and it was a bit stinky down at Glenelg, so I'm not sure there's any fish there.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
So one side of the Gulf seems to be improving a fair bit quicker than the other one, and that coincides with crabs, Diz. at Port Vincent and Ardrossan. I think was it the Ardrossan pub or caravan park, or one of them was sharing some photos of some good size blue swimmer crabs being caught. So that's positive as well.
Yes, very good. Rohdey, absolutely love that, mate. And that just about wraps it all up. We've got one little last story, haven't we?
What's the last story? You keep going.
Have you covered all the barrels and the anticipation that waits for everybody to see when the tuna are going to rock up?
Oh, the tuna will be soon, but we should also touch on the Kingfish. Have been going well.
Yes.
That was probably one we did miss. The tuna we're waiting for. The Kingfish seem to be here up the top of Spencer Gulf. Don't seem to be affected by any of the algae or any of that. And there's been good numbers and good size fish dizzy up there. So that's one that we should pull our finger out and go and do.
Yeah, good call. We certainly should. And that wraps up a pretty good little fishing report, Rohdey. It's been a great episode. Where can the listeners find us?
Dizzy, we're there on your YouTube podcast, your Spotify, your Apple podcasts, all over the place. Make sure you keep sending through your photos, your questions, your stories on Facebook and Instagram. Dizzy, a massive shout out to Asher for making the time. He talked to us for quite a long time there tonight, Diz, and he's been a very busy man. And he's really doing his best to make the most of a bad situation, Diz.
And I think, to be fair, the easiest way to find these podcasts is next time you bump into one of us in the street, which we often do, is just grab yourself a business card off. It's got
Dizzy,
a QR code.
I'm going to need one of those little...
You
see the old blokes have like those business card pouches on their belt? I might get one of them.
Oh, dear.
All right, at least we can laugh despite a bad series of events in the last couple of weeks, Diz. But we got to make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, and good luck if you're getting out on the water.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Speak to you soon.
Rohdey and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.